The phone in my hand was cold, almost as if it absorbed the terror emanating from my trembling body. I stared at the screen, the number on it unfamiliar yet disturbingly familiar. My heart pounded against my rib cage, each beat a frantic plea for escape. I didn't want to answer, but my thumb had a mind of its own, moving slowly towards the green icon. I could feel the walls closing in, the air growing thick with the weight of impending doom. Finally, with a shuddering breath, I answered. "Hello?" My voice was a whisper, barely audible over the silence that had settled over my apartment. A crackle of static was the only reply at first, and then I heard it, a low, guttural whisper, like the rustle of dry leaves in a dead forest. "I've been watching you," it said. "I know what you did." My blood turned to ice. "Who is this?" I demanded, though my voice betrayed my fear. The line went dead, leaving me in a silence that felt like a scream. 3 months earlier, my life had been as ordinary as any other 30-year-old's. I worked a dull office job, lived in a nondescript apartment, and spent my evenings binge-watching TV shows. But all of that changed the night I found the phone. It was a rainy Wednesday, and I was hurrying home from work, cursing my luck for forgetting an umbrella. I took a shortcut through an alleyway, the flickering streetlights casting eerie shadows on the wet pavement. That's when I saw it, a sleek, black smartphone lying in a puddle, almost invisible in the dim light. I hesitated. My first instinct was to leave it. After all, who knew where it had been or who it belonged to? But curiosity got the better of me. I picked it up, wiping the screen with my sleeve. It powered on immediately, revealing a single message: "You shouldn't have taken it." A chill ran down my spine, but I laughed it off. Someone's idea of a prank, I thought. I slipped the phone into my pocket and continued home, unaware that my life had just veered off the path of normalcy into a dark, twisted nightmare. The calls began the next day. At first, they were sporadic, just an occasional ring that I would ignore. But soon, they became more frequent, always from an unknown number, always at the most inconvenient times. When I finally answered, there was never anyone there, just silence, heavy and oppressive. I tried everything to get rid of the phone. I threw it away, smashed it with a hammer, even burned it in my kitchen sink. But every morning, I would find it lying next to me, pristine and whole, as if mocking my attempts to be rid of it. And then the whispers began. Soft at first, indistinct murmurs that I could almost convince myself were just my imagination. But they grew louder, more insistent, filling my ears with their eerie chorus. "We know what you did," they would say. "You can't escape." I became paranoid, seeing shadows where there should be none, hearing footsteps following me in empty hallways. My coworkers noticed the change, whispering behind my back, casting worried glances in my direction. But what could I tell them? That a phantom phone was haunting me, driving me to the brink of madness? I had barricaded myself in my apartment, every light blazing, every window locked tight. The phone sat on the coffee table, silent and menacing. I hadn't slept in days, my nerves frayed to the point of breaking. I was a prisoner in my own home, held captive by a piece of technology that defied all logic. I had tried to reach out for help, but how do you explain something so unbelievable? Friends thought I was joking or overreacting. Even when I showed them the phone, they only saw a normal device, and their attempts to call it always resulted in number not in service messages. I was alone in this nightmare, my sanity slipping through my fingers. As I paced the living room, the phone rang again. This time, the sound was different, louder, more urgent. It felt like it was vibrating straight into my skull, a relentless drilling that I couldn't ignore. I picked it up, my hand shaking, and answered with a ragged, "What do you want from me?" The voice on the other end was clear now, each word dripping with malice. "It's too late. You've let us in." I screamed, a primal, terrified sound that echoed through the empty apartment. The lights flickered and went out, plunging me into darkness. The phone slipped from my grasp, hitting the floor with a final, ominous thud. In the days that followed, I was a shell of my former self. I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. The phone's presence was a constant weight, an inescapable reminder of the horrors I had unleashed. The whispers continued, a relentless chorus that gnawed at my sanity. I knew I was being watched, followed by unseen eyes that never blinked, never looked away. I tried to leave, to run far away from the apartment, but it was no use. No matter where I went, the phone always found me, and the whispers never stopped. It was a curse, a torment that I couldn't escape. Now, as I sit here in the dark, the phone silent in my hand, I realize the truth. There is no escape. The whispers have become a part of me, their dark secrets intertwined with my own. I don't know what I did to deserve this, but it doesn't matter anymore. The phone vibrates one last time. I don't need to look at the screen to know what it says. I can hear it in my mind, the final, chilling message that will haunt me for the rest of my days. We're inside you now. The darkness closes in, and I know that I am truly, utterly lost. I screamed, throwing the phone across the room. It hit the wall with a loud thud and fell to the floor, screen cracked but still glowing. The whispers intensified, filling the room, the very air around me vibrating with their sinister energy. "Let us in, let us in." I backed into a corner, covering my ears, but the voices only grew louder, more insistent. And then I saw it, movement in the shadows. Shapes, barely discernible but unmistakably there, slithering and crawling along the edges of my vision. My heart raced as I realized the terrifying truth. They were coming for me. Desperation took hold. I grabbed the phone, fingers fumbling to dial the only number I could think of, 911. The line connected, but instead of the comforting voice of an operator, I was met with the same haunting whispers. "It's too late, too late." My apartment was growing darker, the shadows thickening, coalescing into forms that crept closer and closer. The temperature dropped, my breath visible in the chill air. Panic overwhelmed me. I dropped the phone and ran for the door, but it wouldn't budge. I was trapped. Then, just as quickly as it had started, the whispers stopped. The silence was deafening, a void that seemed to swallow all sound. I turned around slowly, dread pooling in my stomach. The shadows had receded, but the feeling of being watched was stronger than ever. The phone, lying on the floor, vibrated once more. I didn't want to answer it, but I knew I had no choice. With a deep breath, I picked it up and brought it to my ear. "We're here," the voice whispered. "And we're never leaving."